Good evening and welcome to this edition of Channel 1 News Hour. My name is Edward Kabasa. I hope you had yourself a very wonderful day today. We have a comprehensive coverage of today's news for you. Plus, of course, the coronavirus is still with us. The government is warning that despite the drop in the number of cases being reported, there is news that the virus is resurging in some counties that had been deemed to have managed to some level to contain this deadly global pandemic. We have details of that, but first, let's have the highlights.
DCI, in the Special Service Unit, sir, we don't have charge and officer. We don't have all these officers here. We don't have.
The Director of Criminal Investigations, George Kinoti, distances himself from the arrest of 3 senators last month. 2 more days for Oscar Sudi, the Kapsaret MP, to spend in the South as he awaits his bail hearing on Wednesday. And infections coming down, but the Ministry of Health warns the coronavirus is spreading further and urges Kenyans to adhere to containment measures. We are always grateful for your continued audience. Our sign language interpreter this evening is Simon Karotha. You can stream the live broadcast on Twitter and on Facebook as well. On Twitter, it is at KBC Channel 1. On Facebook, it is KBC Channel 1. Let us begin. The Director of Criminal Investigations, George Kinoti, has denied claims that his office gave orders for the arrest of 3 senators ahead of the vote on the contentious county revenue sharing formula. Kinoti and the Inspector General of Police, Hilary Mutembai, who appeared before the Joint Committee of the Senate on Security, Justice and Legal Affairs, further claimed their officers are not responsible for life threats against senators. Cleophas Malala of Kakamega, Christopher Lengat of Bomet, and Stephen Lelegwe of Samburu, dismissing such threats as fictitious.
Monday's sitting of the Senate Joint Committee on Security and Justice and Legal Affairs, tasked with investigating claims of threats into lawmakers' lives, was awash with harrowing experience. The senators were subjected by a hit squad sent to arrest them. In a moving presentation, Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala and his Bomet counterpart Christopher Lagat narrated to the committee how officers allegedly from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations posed a threat to their lives.
Traveling home, I fear stepping in Narok because they know me, and what I was accused of is so dangerous. So I've been traveling through Nakuru, Kericho, and then Bomet. You see the damages that these people can cause to some of us who are innocent.
It is sad for me to walk around the streets of Kakamega and Kenya knowing that I'm going to die the following day, Mr. Chair. And the most painful thing, Mr. Chair, I see respectable leaders of this republic saying that I forged my arrest, Mr. Chair. After all this, somebody says that I planned with the police to forge, that I stage managed my arrest, surely.
Members stood to the task the Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutembai and the Directorate of Criminal Investigation George Kinoti to explain who ordered the arrest of the 3 lawmakers.
Don't justify an illegality because the law does not. It is economically unjustifiable, it is immoral, it is unchristian. So kindly be precise and apologize even at the minimum, at the bare minimum, so that we can proceed. If you do not have any more cogent answers to the questions we have asked, you do not have facts here, this year and IG, you request for more time.
They are unanswered. Questions have been asked. Why was Senator Langat arrested? Why were no charges preferred against him? Same with Malala, same with Lelengwe. These questions remain unanswered.
The DCI denied any knowledge of the alleged gang from his office.
In the DCI, in the Special Service Unit, sir, we don't have charge and officer. We don't have all these officers here. We don't have. We are the people who have turned them. We are the very people who are trying to harm him. With all this, going through all these things, we even have no idea even why you are doing it in the first place. Then we would be abdicating our duty, and then we would have absolutely no moral authority whatsoever, even to be in our offices respectively, even for a single minute. That's what I would wish to submit, sir. Thank you.
Kinoti dismissed the senators' claims of threats to their lives. The senators also questioned the reason for the senators' arrest, only for them to be released without charges.
It's going round cycles trying to defend the rotten police service.
And Chair, just to add on that. Chair, this matter has been before the DCI for well over 2 weeks. You cannot come here and tell us that we have individual officers who should be blamed. Can you name those officers?
Simple.
I want to know how it became a coincidence that senators required in 3 counties by officers in those counties for what they had done in those counties were required on the same night to go to those counties. I just want to know.
When it says that the offense is bailable and somebody can be summoned to appear before a police station, you have to apply that first before you resort to arresting people at night. Somebody comes at your home at 3 a.m. and says, you have to go with me. This is not fair to the members of the public, members of Parliament, and even members of the public.
I want to know why the double standard. If Malala was arrested because of COVID, when are you going to arrest all these bigwigs who are everywhere? Unless we know if you can't do it, then there's no need to harass these small ones.
Important for you to tell us why, after 5, 6 letters that we have written requesting that there are members in this parliament whose security is being withdrawn arbitrarily because of their political persuasions. It's not right. Tell these people who are abusing your offices that let them not allow you to plant curses for your children.
But there is no fishy deals in this business. It is very likely that there are other interest groups who can purport to be acting as members of the National Police Service.
The Senate gave the IG and the DCI 1 week to table a report on the arrest of the senators after they told the committee that investigations are underway to unravel persons behind the arrests. For Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mongai.
Garissa Governor Ali Korane is being held by police and will take a plea on the 233 million shilling scandal on Tuesday. Korane, who presented himself to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission on Monday morning, was arraigned in court but was put in custody, awaiting his bail hearing. Meanwhile, the hearing of a 10 million shilling case against Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko has kicked off at the Anti-Corruption Court. Sonko and his co-accused are facing 14 counts, which include conflict of interest and money laundering.
Garissa Governor Ali Korane and 4 other accused persons, who include the county's Chief of Finance, Ibrahim Nurmalo, the Head of Treasury, Mohammed Ahmed Abdullahi, the County Executive Officer, Municipality, Abdi Shale, and Head of Accounting at Municipal, Ahmed Abdullahi Aidin, spent the better part of Monday being grilled by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission detectives. The Garissa governor had presented himself after the DPP gave the commission a go-ahead to charge him for 233 million shillings fraud. The money embezzled is said to have been from the World Bank under the Kenya Urban Support Program. DPP sleuths will later in the day present the governor and 4 others at the Milimani Law Courts, where drama ensued as journalists tried to get pictures of the governor. The governor and other accused were, however, locked in and will take plea on Tuesday at the Milimani Law Courts.
Yes, we are ready for...
Meanwhile, a closed hearing for the Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko and 2 other accused persons in the 10 million graft case has kicked off. Appearing before Chief Magistrate Douglas Ogoti, the governor and his co-accused ROJ Security Limited and Anthony Otieno Ombok face 14 counts, among them conspiracy to commit an offense of corruption, acquisition of proceeds of crime, conflict of interest, money laundering, and abuse of office. The prosecution on Monday produced 3 protected witnesses who took to the stand with pseudonyms to protect their identity. For Channel 1 News, I'm Serafina Robbie.
Kapsaret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi will spend 2 more nights in police custody pending court's ruling on his bail application. Sudi was arraigned in a Nakuru court Monday, and police had sought 14 more days to conclude investigations into allegations of hate speech and incitement linked to him, but the court only granted 2 days.
Nakuru Chief Magistrate Joseph Chalu deferred the ruling on bond application after defense team led by the MP's lawyer Collins Kiprono, assisted by Uasin Gishu Women Representative Gladys Shulei, and prosecution conducted by State Counsel Daniel Karuri, present that Karuri had opposed the lawmakers' release on bond on grounds that the current situation in Uasin Gishu County was volatile, seeking 14 more days to investigate him. However, the MP's defense team lashed out at the police for introducing 3 more charges minutes before Sudi was arraigned before court, terming the move as an abuse of the court process.
In this case, anyone on the street, you don't have to be a lawyer to see it. Oscar Sudi, in his statement, was addressing a particular individual and not any ethnic group or race, as one of the legal counsel. Today morning, it's important for Kenyans to know that 5 minutes before the matter was heard, 3 new charges were introduced.
Sudi will now remain in cells for the next 2 days to await his bail application. Meanwhile, a Gembe South Member of Parliament, John Paul Mwirigi, has been acquitted for assaulting a police office. Mwirigi, who appeared before Meru Senior Principal Magistrate Thomas Muragori, was left off the hook following an application by the DPP to have the case withdrawn for lack of adequate evidence.
Saizi niko na nguvu mpya ya kutetea wanyonge. Hakuna wakati ambapo kijana wa bonda atasumbuliwa sababu ya jambo moja ama mbili. Wale vijana ambao wanaitishwa 5,000 motorbike ikishikwa, lazima hawa ni watetee, sababu hakuna kitu ambacho wanapata, na sio haki hawa vijana Warundi kufanya wizi.
Meanwhile, Kiambu Court has released Arafat Ikumu Omar alias Rashid Kowe Omar on a 4 million shillings bond with a surety of similar amount or an alternative 1 million shillings cash bill. Appearing before Kiambu Senior Resident Magistrate Grace Omodo, the suspect was charged that on diverse dates between 2nd July 2020 and 5th August 2020 at the village market in Nairobi obtained over 8 million shillings from Jadeda Thotho by false pretense. Omar, however, denied the charges, and the case is set for mention on the 29th September 2020.
To coronavirus matters now, where the Ministry of Health is now warning of a spike in coronavirus cases in the country, despite latest figures showing the infection rate is going down. On Monday, the Ministry of Health announced 48 people had tested positive for coronavirus in the last 24 hours from 1,081 samples tested. The number of new infections is the lowest recorded in recent times. Purity Musa reports.
The Ministry of Health on Monday revealed that Mombasa and Turkana counties, which previously were on a downward trend regarding new COVID-19 cases, had already begun experiencing a spike in infections. According to the Ministry of Health, the upward trajectory of infections is being witnessed across the country, with the infection rate currently at 6.1%, higher than the 5% recommendation by the World Health Organization for a country to be considered as having flattened its curve.
And just as we've always informed you, this disease is squarely within our communities, having established community transmission, with about 35,398 cases to date, of which we've heard that 98% of them have been local transmissions.
During the daily COVID-19 updates, health officials warned of dire consequences if Kenyans continue disregarding prevention protocols.
Trajectory of the curve has been on a downward trajectory, but this will only obtain so long as we maintain and sustain the public health social measures that we have continued to articulate, failure to which there could easily be a reversal.
The total number of confirmed cases countrywide is 36,205 after 48 people tested positive in the last 24 hours. The tests were conducted on a sample size of 1,081.
We have Mombasa today taking lead with 20 cases, and this is what we were pointing out to, that it seems that there may be a slight surge in Mombasa County. Nairobi 15, Tharaka Nithi 4, Kiambu 2, Kilifi 2, Meru 2, Machakos 1, and Wajir 1, and Homa Bay 1.
176 people have been given a clean bill of health over a similar period, 45 from the home-based care program and 131 from various health facilities. So far, 23,243 have recovered from the disease. The death toll continues to rise and is at 624 after 2 patients succumbed to COVID-19. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health says it is holding consultative meetings with nurses union officials in Nairobi to end the ongoing strike by the healthcare providers.
Most recently, Cabinet approved workmen's compensation for healthcare workers, and so again that issue was settled. Any other remnant issues that deal with promotion are being handled by those teams, and they're in conversations with the union bodies there.
With the World Health Organization having reported a record-breaking number of COVID-19 infections in a single day after over 300,000 cases of coronavirus were reported on Sunday, and with Kenya's coronavirus positivity rate remaining at 6.1%, slightly higher than the WHO's recommended 5%, then this tells you the fight against the deadly disease is far from being over, and the ministry is now urging Kenyans not to put their guards down and strictly adhere to COVID-19 preventive restrictions. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News, Nairobi.
The Ministry of Education is mulling over a review of the dates for reopening schools in the country, even as it grapples with the implementation of the social distancing protocol. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha, while maintaining physical learning will resume in January 2021, said the exact date and school calendar will be determined by the trajectory of COVID-19 infections, which is currently on a downward trend. Kamche Menza with that report.
The declining numbers of COVID-19 cases in the country may inform a review of the dates for reopening of learning institutions.
Decisions regarding the reopening of learning institutions may change as informed by reports obtained from the Ministry of Health, hereby represented by Dr. Mbajo, prevailing circumstances, and increased knowledge of COVID.
Education stakeholders working closely with the Ministry of Health are engaged in a week-long consultative meeting at the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development in Nairobi to take stock of the current situation.
And even from the announcements that have been made over the last few weeks, we note that the average positivity rate has been just below 5%. And this is a good thing for us because it suggests then that we can begin to consider how much restrictions are lifted in different sectors.
And we, as stakeholders, have come to a consensus that indeed it is time to relook because the doctor has told you the curve is flattening.
Modalities to implement social distancing in schools, especially public institutions, remain a tall order. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha, however, says the decision on when the school calendar resumes will depend on the outcome of multi-sectoral deliberations later this month.
Even at that time, if I succeed in getting backroom approval, then I will tell you what we have decided. If I do not, then those the decisions that have been made at that point will be taken and then give them to the principal, who will communicate the decision to you.
Professor George Magoha at the same time assured non-academic staff of payment in due course. Kamche Menza for Channel 1 News.
Senators will once again attempt to discuss the best formula for sharing revenue among the 47 counties when they resume sittings on Tuesday. Both debate and voting on reports submitted by a 12-member select committee is expected. This is amid plans to move a motion to have Parliament amend the Revenue Act to allow counties access 50% of their yearly allocation in the event that the Senate fails to resolve the stalemate.
The Senate will on Tuesday seek to resolve the revenue sharing standoff that has left the House divided right in the middle.
So what will happen tomorrow is that we anticipate that the two other proposals, which is the proposal by Senator Were, which was on the floor, and the proposal by Senator Matangi, to be completed and voted on. And any other proposal that will be brought forward, either Team Kenya then drops all its other amendments and adopts one position in terms of the committee report, and the other team then drops all its proposal and picks one position on the floor. But tomorrow we anticipate robust debate and voting on all the options.
It will be the 10th attempt after a debate was postponed last week. Efforts to reach a consensus on Monday hit a snag after Speaker of the Senate Ken Lusaka refused to allow for Akamukunji to further debate on the matter. Amid claims that the Senate has failed to provide the right guidelines to end cash crunch in counties, senators claim the county's revenue allocation formula has been politicized.
What has defeated us as a Senate is the idea that was brought forth through CRA of losing and gaining counties. The minute that gained traction politically, it has become a problem that we have been unable to resolve politically. And since we have been unable to resolve it politically through the political leadership, we will have to resolve it by a vote.
Senators supporting the win-win formula accused the House leadership of delaying the vote, causing protracted dispute among the lawmakers.
It is highly likely that it will come to an end tomorrow because we have always been ready to take a vote. But it's the leadership that has been trying to postpone this debate. We are ready even on 17th when they lost their bid to amend, but the problem was that they could not muster the 24 votes that are required to pass a money bill in the House. So we are likely tomorrow. Our camp is intact. We believe our camp is intact. We still have the 25 senators that have been on this side. We have the 18 that are losing, and the other 7 brothers who have come to support us. So we are optimistic that we are going to succeed tomorrow when we conclude.
And although a decision on the 2 reports submitted by the 12-member committee is yet to be made, plans are underway to move a resolution to allow counties access 50% of their budget. For Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mongai.
Deputy President William Ruto has dismissed politicians peddling false information that President Uhuru Kenyatta wants to extend his term in office. Ruto says President Kenyatta is a firm believer of the principles of democracy and would not condone such a proposal. The Deputy President said such misinformation was causing unnecessary confusion among Kenyans.
Some other people are telling us that it is about extension of terms. The question you ask, my boss, President Uhuru Kenyatta, is a Democrat. I don't think President Uhuru Kenyatta has told anybody that he wants his term extended. So where are these people finding all this? I would dare ask, ulisikia wapi? Ati Rais Uhuru Kenyatta anataka term yake isongeshwe. Wewe ambaye unatupatia hiyo story, ulisikia wapi?
All right. And on that note, we're taking a very short break, but don't go anywhere. This live broadcast is also streaming on Facebook. We do appreciate your continued audience. We are also live on Twitter. We'll be back with more news.
On the next episode of Ashoka.
Princess Ahankara, but your presumption is not at all true. I was just trying to help Princess Ahankara.
If you had to help her, then you could have called your brother or any one of the maids. You had other options.
No, this is not right. My son hasn't done anything.
So what if he is regent? Ultimately, he is the king. Get out of here! Do not dare to show up here again, or else you will be dead!
I'm here to meet Dastan.
Did not you hear what I just said? That Khurasans do not snitch against each other.
KBC, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television and online. Catch the lessons every weekday on KBC Channel 1 from 2 to 4 p.m, on KBC English Service and 15 FM from 9:15 a.m. to 5 p.m, and Radio Taifa from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. KBC English Service, Radio Taifa and 15 FM are also available countrywide on the free-to-air Signet digital TV platform, or log on to www.kbc.co.ke for live streaming, or download the KBC Online app on Google Play Store. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, ensuring learning no matter what.
Thank you very much for keeping us company, and let us dive straight back to politics, where the Wiper Democratic Movement leader Kalonzo Musyoka says he has learned from his past mistakes and he will be going for the presidency cautious and optimistic. Kalonzo said the party was no longer a pushover, and those thinking he's a political underdog are in for a rude shock. In readiness for 2022, Kalonzo said the party was rebranding and will be launching a mass recruitment drive to increase its membership around the country to bring on board 1 million new members.
Kalonzo was speaking Monday when he launched the party's digital registration, where he revealed that the party is aiming to register over 1 million new Wiper members within 3 months. Kalonzo took the occasion to announce that the party will be taking a new direction, where it will change its colors to make it more acceptable among Kenyans.
We are going to change even our colors. We are rebranding in order to make it easy for every Kenyan to feel, as Senator Junior said, this is not a Mkamba party. We left that story a long time ago. This is a national movement, ready and willing and able to liberate Kenya in real terms.
The Wiper leader said the past elections had provided him with vital lessons, and that this time his arsenals were cut for a clear direction with no blinking.
And it's not a joke. It is not wishful thinking. We have done it before. We have beaten the trail before. This time we know every loophole. We know every mistake we made. We are not making any more mistakes this time. We are not even taking prisoners, Hilda.
The Wiper leader hitting at a section of the political class of endangering the lives of Kenyans through early 2022 campaigns despite the COVID-19 pandemic.
If there's a spiking of COVID-19 in Kitengela, in Machakos, and elsewhere, in Taita Taveta, in Mombasa, we know whom to blame. Do you hear me? Because you realize people have just run out of patience and have hit the road.
Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
And in other matters, the national government is spending 4 million shillings to revamp the statue of legendary Kenya trade unionist, the late Tom Mboya, along Nairobi's Moi Avenue Street. This as the National Museums of Kenya opens its doors to the public after 7 months of closure in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic.
The imposing Tom Mboya sculpture, erected in 2011 along Nairobi's Moi Avenue, has been moved to the National Museums of Kenya headquarters in Nairobi for temporary custody as renovations of the monument kicks off.
Based on the contractual agreement between the National Museums of Kenya and the contractor is supposed to take 20 weeks to renovate the monument.
Alleged negligence of the monument is among the reasons the national government is injecting 4 million shillings to give it a facelift.
It was vandalized, the water features had been broken down, the concrete slabs had been broken.
The National Museums of Kenya seeks to have the Tom Mboya monument resemble that of other Kenyan legend like Dedan Kimathi's monument erected on Kimathi Street.
Just like the Kenyatta monument that have been erected, the Jaramogi monument that have been erected. So Tom Mboya is actually one of the iconic figures in this particular country, and is the reason why this particular monument was installed was for the purpose of celebrating this national hero.
The statue was moved on the day the National Museums of Kenya opened its door to the public.
I think people are really going to get opportunity to unwind and to release the stress that they've been undergoing through the 7 months.
The museum so far is very interesting. Most of the animals I am very familiar because I'm a very curious person. So
it was closed 7 months ago following the COVID-19 pandemic. The travel industry almost changed overnight owing to the COVID-19 pandemic, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. Tourism stakeholders are optimistic that the reopening of destinations such as this will earn the country more tourists and boost revenue earnings. Irene Mchuma Odim, Channel 1 in the county of Nairobi.
Thank you very much, Irene Mchuma Odim, for that report. Over 120 parliamentarians from 30 countries across the world have signed a declaration that seeks to promote education for the less privileged in the society. Speaking after attending a virtual global meeting dubbed International Parliament Network for Education, nominated Senator Gertrude Musuruve hailed the initiative, saying it will go a long way in ensuring there is quality education for all, regardless of background and physical capabilities.
Eddie? International Parliament Network for Education has launched a global campaign to highlight the challenges facing the underprivileged in society. More than 120 parliamentarians from 30 different countries from the world have teamed up to ensure that all children in society, regardless of where they are from the world, access quality education.
And this commitment is very important because we have to see how to actually ensure that all parliamentarians are supporting education. And even as we are supporting education, all parliamentarians who have signed the declaration need to actually take it as an agenda so that we lobby governments to ensure that governments are supporting, SDG 4.
Speaking while attending the virtual conference, nominated Senator Gertrude Musuruve says the move will help address the plight of many children who are out of schools due to the challenges facing them.
By ensuring that the farthest child behind is given priority, the less fortunate child is given priority, that child with a disability is given priority, that child in refugee camps is given priority, that girl child is given priority, and that quality education is given to all these children so that no one is left behind.
Musuruve said it was unfortunate that most countries in the world are yet to fully integrate the disadvantaged children to the education system, continuing the inequality gap, citing those in refugee camps as a clear example.
And we all know the impact that education can have on an individual. Education can transform someone from the low-income society, from the underprivileged socioeconomic class, to even sit with the high and mighty. And I want to say that globally, we must take it as a priority to ensure that we are actually rallying the political goodwill, all governments nationally, all governments globally, to ensure that everyone is taking it upon himself or herself to champion the agenda of the underprivileged.
Timothy Kipnusu for Channel 1 News.
And in other matters, the Parliamentary Committee on Broadcast and Library is coming up with strategies to effectively enlighten Kenyans on their activities. The committee seeks to widen its broadcasting scope to move from house sittings to committees and other fields members of parliament are engaged in to have Kenyans understand the working of the august house. To achieve the noble program, the committee will be seeking partnership with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation to have parliament content reach the entire Kenyan Republic and beyond.
People can understand a member of parliament when they're in the committee, what are they doing in the committee? When a member of parliament is in the constituency, what is she doing in the constituency? When a member of parliament goes to external excursions, they're going for external benchmarking, like they've gone to America, we should follow them to find out what are they doing there, so that our people get to know what the members of parliament are doing, so that when members of the public make a decision of a member of parliament, either voting him or not voting for him, so they are properly informed, they are taking a decision on a very informed mind. You know, information is power. So we want to give our people information. We want to go ahead and even expand. You know, we have library. We want also to expand the parliament to devolve, to go down to the villages. We put in each and every county, at least every ward and counties, a library.
This is a facility which is going to give information. We are not going to change what a member of parliament does, what the constitution talks of the role of the member of parliament. But it is a channel through which the people out there I want to understand, because the way we hear people talk about members of parliament, it's like they don't know their role. So we want to make them understand their role. We want this channel, which is going to be there 24 hours, so that people can watch, can listen, and can understand exactly what we do as members of parliament and what people perceive.
Let's take a look at some other matters now. Construction of a seawall to protect the historic Vasco da Gama pillar in Malindi town, Kilifi County, is on course despite challenges posed by tidal waves. The historic bell-shaped pillar, constructed by the famous Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama in 1498, was on the verge of collapse following years of coastal erosion occasioned by strong tidal waves.
Vasco da Gama Pillar in Malindi, Kilifi County, Kenya. If you studied history and government in school, then you may remember that the teacher explaining details about the site. Every year, the site attracts thousands of domestic and foreign tourists. The historic bell-shaped pillar was constructed by the famous Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama in 1498. However, coastal erosion occasioned by strong tidal waves has over the years damaged the pillar. The government, through the means of sports, heritage and culture, has moved with speed to protect it.
As a ministry, we thought it's very important for us to preserve this icon for Malindi, because if you can imagine, if this pillar fell into the ocean, then that image you have of a city of Malindi will be gone.
The cost of building a wall and repair works will cost 59 million shillings. Principal Secretary, Sports, Heritage and Culture, Josepta Mukobe, expressed satisfaction with progress of the ongoing renovation.
They've put a very strong base. They've also put a wall, a very strong wall. So that means the pillar is protected, maybe for the next 100 years.
The first lift will also include the construction of facilities such as toilets and a better walkway to facilitate movement of persons living with physical disability.
And still in the coastal region, controversy surrounding the ownership of Nguu Tatu land in Kisauni, Mombasa took a dramatic twist on Monday morning after 3,200 families staged protest outside the offices of area Member of Parliament. And as Michael Mwandiga reports, the squatters unpacked mattresses, cooking stoves and sufurias as they pitched tent outside the premises, much to the amusement of onlookers.
Over 3,000 families have practically been turned into mobile squatters after being forcibly evicted from the controversial Ngutatu land in Kisauni, Mombasa County. On Monday, they packed their belongings and moved to the offices of their Member of Parliament, Ali Mbogo. In the drama that unfolded, they lit their stoves and proceeded to cook, all in an attempt to grab the attention of Mbogo, whom they accuse of abandoning them at the hour of need. Led by their chairman, Robert Lugo, the squatters said the families have occupied the land for 10 years and the court has granted them stay orders pending determination of the matter.
Bunge wetu yuko katika Parliamentary Select Committee ya Land. Tunataka aweze kuwasilisha hoja zetu sisi kama Wakenya kupitana na katiba section 135 ya constitution ni kwamba kila Mkenya anapaswa kupewa makao. Kwa hivyo tunaomba serikali kupitia kwa Land Trustee Board waweze kutenga pesa ziwe zitaweza kuhakikisha masquatters wale wamepata makao. Shida yetu sasa kubwa sisi ni makao.
Mboze Mumbaji, a squatter, said the private developer claiming ownership of the parcel of land is yet to allocate them a portion as directed by the court.
Tumekiwa ukuta mahali pale, tumekiwa na magate, tunaambua naye toka asirudi na anaye ndani atutoke nje. Kama sisi ni wa Tanzania, si mturudishe kwa baba yetu Magufuli. Kama sisi ni wa Somali, si mturudishe Somali.
The controversial piece of land is 384 acres. Reporting for Channel 1 News from Mombasa County, I'm Michael Mwandiga.
Thank you, Michael Mwandiga, for that report. The county government of Wajir is warning mosques, markets and police stations currently witnessing high human traffic are turning into COVID-19 hotspots. Wajir County Health Executive Ismail Hisak says unless people visiting such areas adhere to preventive measures put in place by the Ministry of Health in fighting the coronavirus pandemic, gains already made will be reversed. This and more in the County News Roundup.
Speaking when he received a consignment of face masks from the U.S. Embassy, Wajir County Health Executive Ismail Isak said people visiting worship places and markets must strictly adhere to laid out health protocols. The health CEC says that the face masks will be distributed to the high-risk areas to beef up efforts put in place to curb the spread of the virus.
We want to sincerely thank the American Embassy or the U.S. Embassy for making these donations to Wajir County and the ones that have gone to the County Commissioner. These reusable face masks will be distributed to very populous areas.
Elsewhere, the West Pokot County government has partnered with well-wishers to rescue and rehabilitate street children in the region. The initiative comes even as statistics indicate that Kapenguria and other major towns in West Pokot County continue to record an influx of street children.
Sasa tunawakakua kulingana na miaka, kulingana na shida zao, wamesoma mpaka kiangani, ndio tunapowasaidia tutawasaidia kila mtoto kulingana na shida zake, na wale ambao tunaweza kupata makao tutawaweka kwa muda ili tuweze kurudisha nyumbani tukiwaweka katika mikakati mizuri ili wasirudi tena mtaani.
Meanwhile, some 1,000 residents of Jomvu constituency in Mombasa County have benefited from free National Hospital Insurance Fund cover, courtesy of Area Member of Parliament Badi Twalib. The legislator says the initiative, which targets vulnerable groups in the constituency, will go a long way in easing access to healthcare in the area.
Leo hii nataka kusema wale ambao watanufaika katika huduma hii ni watu 1,700, na katika kila mtu mmoja ambaye atapata kadi, ikiwa ni mzee, ataweza kutibiwa na mke wake na watoto wake. Kwa hivyo watoto wake ambao wako chini ya miaka 18, tukiassume ya kwa kuwa pengine mtu yuko na watoto 3, itabidi asaidike yeye na mke wake na watoto wake 3. Kwa hivyo katika familia moja ukizuia kadi ile inamaanisha watu 5 ambao wanaweza kupata huduma.
And in Trans Nzoia County, education stakeholders are calling for practical interventions to curb teenage pregnancies in the area. The stakeholders say that many girls have found themselves in the family way after being violated by people meant to protect them.
I am very positive that we have a very capable Ministry of Education, and they will put together a policy that we will see us moving forward and circumvent this problem of teenage pregnancy.
In Murang'a County, a family is mourning the death of 5 of its members who perished in a road accident along the Wote-Machakos Road. The 5 are said to have been traveling back home from Machakos after a visit to their in-laws.
Watu walitoka hapa asubuhi wakiwa na furaha tele. Na wakati ule tulisikia hivyo, tulisikia huzuni sana.
Still in Murang'a County, quarry miners have protested against the county government's move to close down Kandundu mines. The miners claim that the closure of the mines will negatively impact their livelihoods. In Nyamira County, doctors have downed their tools over alleged career stagnation and poor working conditions. The medics have accused the county government of failing to implement a collective bargaining agreement signed between the two parties. Finally, education stakeholders in Migori and Homa Bay counties have called on the national government to do more and inject some much-needed facelift to learning institutions in the region. The stakeholders urged the Ministry of Education to prioritize learning, which they argued has suffered numerous setbacks occasioned by what they termed as misplaced priorities.
Our arm, the parts of our arm.
Let's now take a look at some business news. A litre of super petrol has been increased by 1 shilling and 48 cents from midnight in the latest monthly fuel review by the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. On the other hand, a litre of diesel reduces by 12 cents, while kerosene is cheaper by 50 cents.
Data from the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority indicates that the average landed cost of imported super petrol increased by 2.65%, while diesel decreased by 1.02%, as kerosene reduced by 2.06%. In addition, the shilling weakened by 44 basis points, touching a high of 107.93 to the dollar. This negatively impacted the price of super petrol, which increases by 1 shilling and 48 cents, while a litre of diesel reduced by 12 cents as kerosene is cheaper by 50 cents. Fuel will be cheapest in Mombasa, where a litre of super petrol will retail at 103 shillings and 5 cents, while diesel at 92 shillings and 15 cents, as kerosene sells at 80 shillings and 78 cents. In Nairobi, a litre of super petrol increased to 105 shillings and 43 cents. Diesel reduces to 94 shillings and 51 cents, while kerosene will sell at 83 shillings and 15 cents. Fuel will be most expensive in Mandera, where a litre of super petrol will retail at 118 shillings and 47 cents. Diesel sells at 107 shillings and 56 cents, while kerosene will cost at 96 shillings and 18 cents.
And in other matters, at least 65% of Kenyans have seen their incomes reduced significantly during the COVID-19 pandemic, with the majority of them expecting the situation to worsen. According to the latest Standard Chartered Bank survey, 42% of the youth in Kenya fear they might be declared redundant as the economy continues to take a beating from the negative impact of the coronavirus.
The coronavirus pandemic continues to negatively affect the global economy, with developing economies such as Kenya the most affected. This has seen personal finances of Kenyans affected as income streams from many dry up. According to a global Standard Chartered Bank survey, 2/3 of Kenyans are already earning less and expect the pandemic to further affect their income. The report, which was carried out in 12 developed and developing economies, showed that Kenyans were among the most confident and willing to adapt by diversifying their income streams. 89% of Kenyans believe they have the skills to thrive in a more digital post-COVID-19 world. 93% would set up a second income stream, while 87% would retain or learn a new skill. With many graduating or leaving school in the midst of a global recession younger generations are more willing to adapt to the current circumstances. Edith Chumba, Standard Chartered Head of Retail Banking Kenya and East Africa, says, quote, Kenya was also the most entrepreneurial nation, with 85% considering starting a new business to increase their earnings in the next 6 months. Kenya's millennials and Generation Z are also much more likely than their global peers to respond to the crisis by starting a new business. 87% of those aged 18 to 44 years would consider doing so in the next 6 months, compared to 52% globally, end of quote. The survey also found out that 99% of Kenyans would prefer to continue working from home for at least 2 days a week once the COVID-19 restrictions are lifted. Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
The Cooperative Bank emerged top in the franchise ranking of listed banks in a survey done by Saiton Investment. The survey attributes Cooperative Bank's performance to high efficiency levels evidenced by a low cost-to-income ratio, which came in at 60.1% as compared to an industry average of 67.4%. Here are the details of this and other stories in our corporate briefs.
The latest report by Saiton on the performance of listed banks during the first 6 months of this year ranks Cooperative Bank top in terms of franchise value on account of low cost-to-income ratio, which came in at 60.1% as compared to an industry average of 67.4%. The top 5 listed banks in terms of franchise value were Cooperative Bank, followed by I&M, Stanbic, Equity and Absa. In the survey, I&M emerged top in terms of comprehensive ranking of listed banks, followed by Cooperative Bank in second, while Stanbic was third.
The major observation that we saw, it was in KCB Group, whereby in terms of franchise value, it declined in terms of its ranking to number 6 from number 3 initially. And the main reasons was there was a rise in the NPL ratio for KCB, mainly due to the book that they inherited from NBK.
Meanwhile, Davis and Shutleaf Executive Chairman Alec Davis has been named in this year's Business Worldwide magazine and credited for building a transformative business throughout Africa. The 2020 Business Worldwide CEO Awards recognize Davis for overseeing the family-owned company revolutionize water supply in Kenya and African countries over the last 7 decades. Davis joined the company in 1976, took the helm from his father Eddie Davis in 1990, and embarked on an aggressive expansion strategy focused on the distribution business. Finally, Pride Inn Hotels Managing Director Hasnain Nurani is urging the government to scale down taxes and levies in the tourism industry in a bid to boost domestic tourism and recreate jobs for the youths. Nurani says the industry risks extreme revenue drop unless taxes and levies at the national and county levels are harmonized.
There is the cost of power, there is the cost of taxes, and then the cost of interest. We want to ask the government, let us work together so we see how we can lower these rates and how we can work together to lower the prices.
He says the levies introduced by counties coupled with already existing statutory taxes are pushing up the cost of tourism products.
And finally, in sports, Football Kenya Federation is set to go to the polls this month, with branch elections scheduled to be held on the 19th of this month. The national elections are scheduled to be held on the 17th of next month, and incumbent chairperson Nick Wendo will battle it out to retain a seat against Lodvik Aduda, Boniface Osano, Daniel Mule and Herbert Mwachiro, who have been cleared to contest in the poll. 9 aspirants, led by former chairperson Sam Nyamweya, pulled out of the elections, claiming the process is the subject of litigation before the Sports Dispute Tribunal for being in violation of the Sports Act of 2013. However, candidates who are vying for various positions say they are ready for the polls.
Kura zinapigwa na delegates wa kutoka kwa vilabu zinatoka Kwale. So tumekaa na wao, tumewaeleza nia yetu. Sisi tuko na agenda na Kwale. Na agenda zetu 4 kubwa ni kwamba sisi tuenue mpira wa vijana wa Kwale. Hiyo ndio agenda kubwa Kwale tumeweka saa hii.
Kila vilabu, madelegates, watu wako tayari. Federation ishatuma kila kitu, mambo ya security imepanga, venues imepangwa. Sasa sisi tuko tayari kupiga kura. Na whatever result that will come out, sisi tutakubaliana.
We still have hope because we know these other guys, what they want is that they need to disrupt all these things so that maybe we can be banned by FIFA. And you know, when Kenya is banned by FIFA, then it's the talent, the young people who have interest in football and who depend on football for their livelihood that are going to be affected.
And across our borders, former FIFA Secretary General Jerome Volker and the chairman of the Qatar-based media group beIN Sports, Nasser Al-Khelaifi, went on trial in Switzerland today over the award of television rights for the World Cup and Confederations Cup. The 59-year-old Volker, already banned by FIFA's Ethics Committee for 10 years for ethics violation, has been charged with accepting bribes, aggravated criminal mismanagement and falsification of documents. Al-Khelaifi, who is also the president of French champions Paris Saint-Germain, has been charged with inciting Volker to commit aggravated criminal mismanagement. The trial in Switzerland, which is where FIFA is based, is expected to last until 25th of this month, and the three federation judges are expected to deliver a verdict by the end of October. And with that, we put a cap on Channel 1 News Hour tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. You can stay up to date with the breaking news on Twitter at KBC Channel 1. On behalf of the team here, that includes my sign language interpreter, my director, as well as the producers and the technical team, my name is Edward Kabasa. Have yourself a very wonderful night ahead.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to Channel 1 Weather Updates. I hope you're well tonight. My name is Irene Mchuma Odim. Tomorrow, most parts of the country will experience sunny conditions. But before we get into the nitty-gritty on that, it is important to note that tonight the whole country has been covered with clear skies, save for a few areas in the county of Kisumu and especially around the lake, where there are showers accompanied by thunderstorms. These, as temperatures in Kisumu County stand at 18 degrees Celsius. But that is not the coldest town tonight. Narok and Eldoret are the coldest towns tonight in the country. Temperatures stand at 11 degrees Celsius, weather conditions that are still manageable. Tomorrow, the whole country will experience sun intervals during the early morning hours. This cloudiness that you're seeing here will affect Nairobi, Meru, and Nyeri, but then this will just be over a few places before giving way to sunny intervals. There'll also be cloudiness over the western parts of the country over a few places before giving way to sunny intervals. The northeastern parts of the country, the northwestern, the southeastern lowlands will experience sunny conditions. There will be scattered wet conditions in Malindi and Lamu during the early morning hours, but one that will not limit you to walk along the beach. In the afternoon, we'll see changes over most parts of the country. These are showers accompanied by thunderstorms over a few places in the western parts of the country. There'll be cloudiness in the county of Lodwar and Samburu, but sunny intervals will still prevail. The northeastern parts of the country, the coastal strip, and the southeastern lowlands, that includes Machakos, Makindu, Voi, will experience sunny intervals during the afternoon hours, and temperatures have slightly gone up. The highest will be experienced in Mandera and Lodwar at 36 degrees Celsius. The capital will experience highs of 25 and lows of 15 degrees Celsius. And on that note, let's now cross the borders and have a look at the international forecast. Do have a good night and God bless.